Hello everyone, it's Phil here from 121 IELTS. In today's lesson, we're going to be having a look at some techniques to help us improve our paraphrasing skills. When paraphrasing, it's really useful to be able to change the sentence structure, and another very useful technique is to be able to change something that's in the active voice to the passive voice, or vice versa. Whenever we're looking for synonyms for our paraphrases, remember, we should never take risks. We should only be looking for synonyms of words that we 100% know direct synonyms for. A direct synonym is a word that completely replaces its original. What is the first step to paraphrasing? My prayer says structure, and that is 100% correct. And then once we've changed the structure, if we can, if you can't change it, don't change it. We're trying to do things we can do. Okay, so this is all about using your language to the best of your ability, but not pushing yourself too far. Do we want synonyms we're not really sure of, or do we want 100% sure of synonyms? Yeah, 100%. We do not take risks with our synonyms. We're going to find words which are easy to find synonyms for. As long as you've actually moved your structure around, then you're going to find that you don't need as many synonyms. What you do not want to be doing is just going one word at a time and trying to replace them, because the grammatical structure that you see in front of you probably works best with the words that you see in front of you. So just trying to change the word in that structure is going to make your paraphrasing really awkward. So don't just look at a paraphrase going, it's a synonym exercise. It is not. In recent times, economic growth has helped many become richer, both in developed and developing countries. However, those in developed countries are not as happy as they were in the past. So sentence structure. What is the first thing we notice about this that we can maybe change sentence structure a little bit? My choice is swap. At the moment, how many sentences do we have? 2. So something we can definitely do is turn 2 into 1. So if we turn 2 into 1, we're basically then creating a complex sentence. So not only are we paraphrasing, but at the same time, we are going to be showing a range of higher level grammatical structures, which is important. So if we want to swap, we can take this idea here, put it first, and this idea here, put it second. So here, what we've basically done is we have just swapped, but obviously we have some conjunctions, which are not going to make any sense. I can't start here with however. So we're going to keep this in recent times. We'll get rid of this at the moment. Those in developed countries are not as happy as they were in the past. Does this have the same meaning? Yeah. And then we've got this second one here, this second sentence. So we've decided we're going to join them. How do we want to join these two sentences? What options do we have? So we could use however, but however has already been used. What other conjunctions can we use? While, yeah, while would be nice. Although would be nice. Whereas would be nice. Where would it probably be best to put these while, although, and whereas? So we could put our conjunctions of contrast either at the beginning of this phrase or at the beginning of the other one. So we could have here, although. Do I ever put a comma immediately after although? Nope. Or I could use whereas. So these all work exactly the same. So you can just choose whichever one you feel like using. So whereas those in developed countries are not as happy as they were in the past, economic growth has helped many become richer, both in developed and developing countries. Okay, so our meaning at the moment is exactly the same, and all of our referencing words actually make sense. Let's have a look at if there's anything else in this that we can maybe change. We've got a as. So what does as mean? Something is the same or not the same. That's a very common comparative structure. As happy as means, so if you have this structure, it means something is the same as happy as. However, in this, we have not as happy as. So what does not as happy as mean? So this means less happy. Yeah, rather than saying not as happy as, we can maybe change this to less happy than. So not as adjective as, you can use less adjective than. If you have this structure equals, so this, we can change for this. Let's have a look at the second part. Economic growth has helped many become richer, both in developed and developing countries. So here we have subject, verb, object. So this is active voice. What could we maybe do to change the sentence structure here? We can change it from active to passive. Excellent. Okay. So we're only worried about this part here. How would you make this? And I'm going to highlight this. So we've got, at the moment, it's subject, verb, object. Can you change this to be passive voice? So it's going to be object, verb, subject, with the verb to be in there. So if I'm going to have a look at this sentence, people has, what's wrong with this? Remember, people is plural. So people have been helped by economic growth to become richer. So this works. It's a possibility. Okay, a lot of people have become, so this is doing what I was saying, but you're actually just making this your main verb. A lot of people have become wealthier due to economic growth. Yeah, this also works, although it's not passive voice at the moment. But both of these are really nice. They both work really well. Actually, I think this is probably the most natural way to do this. Now I'm looking at it. Another option you could maybe have here is people have been made richer by. In this first one, what I would probably do is, because we normally put these by expressions at the end. That's why it looked a little bit strange to me first. People have been helped to become richer by economic growth. So this for me works a little bit better because we like to put our subject in a by clause at the end of the sentence. So people have been helped to become richer by economic growth. A lot of people have become wealthier due to economic growth. Good. People have been made richer by economic growth. So these are three options we could have here. With this a lot of, if we say a lot of, it keeps the meaning of many, both in developed and developing countries. Okay. So have we done a lot of changing sentences? Has the structure been changed a lot? Yeah, we've changed the structure a huge amount. We've swapped and joined. And then in both of those sentences, we found a way to change sentence structure. So we changed the comparative sentence structure and we changed the sentence structure here. So that's awesome. We already have a well paraphrased sentence. To just have this on its own would be a good paraphrase. So this is what I want you to understand. The synonyms are not as important as you think. This is what the examiner wants you to be able to do. This is the tricky bit. And now we look for easy synonyms. So in recent times, these days, yeah, comes up all the time. Nowadays, these days, absolutely fine, either one. Whereas those in developed countries, we already said we could change those to people or individuals who work here. So whereas people in developed countries, developed. And I love the fact that Hickory just said nations. So yeah, it would be much easier here to change this word and just keep developed there. We don't have to change every word. So whereas people in developed nations are less happy, people love to change the word happy. What do you think about happy? Is happy happy? Yes. We do not want joyful. Hickory mentioned we could have satisfied. Yeah, that was one of the ones. Yeah, delighted. Don't use delighted. So bad synonyms for happy. Don't use joyful or delighted. They don't work. Satisfied here, I think, actually is a really good synonym. And Hickory also mentioned content. These are the good ones. These are the ones you want to avoid. Or just use the word happy. We've already changed the sentence structure enough that we don't have to change all these words. But if you're looking for a good synonym here, I think satisfied or content would be nice. In the past, we think of a clear synonym for this. Aha, wonderful. This used to be, it's a function that IELTS examiners like to test. This is really nice. It's showing the understanding of how to use this grammatical function, which is tested all the time in IELTS. What does used to be actually mean? Because this is a really, really important grammatical structure that we should learn in our IELTS. Hikaru, excellent. Yeah, it's talking about a past habit. So it's not something you did one time. So used to is showing past habits. A lot of has already been, we've changed many to a lot of, so that's good. People, we've already had people. How can we make this more interesting? Individuals, yep. Remember this one. A lot of individuals have become wealthier. I think this is an easy word to change. Rich, yeah. And he could also mention affluent. So if we did rich, we would do richer. If I want to do affluent, so you're already picking up the high level vocabulary here. How do I make this a comparative? Affluent, so it's a 3-syllable adjective. Exactly, we put more in front of it. A lot of individuals have become more affluent due to economic growth. Economic growth, what are we going to do to this word? No change, exactly. Economic growth is economic growth, both in developed and developing countries. So again, I think we can change countries for nations. Something I see a lot in IELTS paraphrasing, like model answers, developed, people will say richer, and developing, poorer. So if you want to find synonyms for these, you could do richer or poorer. But as Parveen said, there is absolutely no need to change it. Both in, could I change this? There's a nice little trick we could do here. We could just change the word order. So both in and in both. Okay. So I think we really went to town on the synonyms. I would say in your actual exam, you do not need this many synonyms, but you guys demonstrated that you knew the words. So if you know the words and you are 100% sure, great. We now have our final sentence. So we're going to read it and make sure it makes sense, and read it and make sure the meaning is exactly the same. So these days, whereas people in developed nations are less satisfied than they used to be, a lot of individuals have become more affluent due to economic growth in both richer and poorer nations. Okay, that reads absolutely fine. The meaning is exactly the same. If I saw this in an essay, this for me could be the start of a band 9 essay. So I hope you found today's lesson useful. Good luck to you all in your studies. I'd really appreciate if you hit the like button on this video. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel to make sure that you don't miss out on any more content, which is going to help you get the scores that you want in your IELTS exam.